Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, my precious pack, and welcome back once more to the Farming Simulator, the game we all play. Right now, I want to talk about the Taurus. This lovely little dreadnought right here that has more hit points than my elite Leviathan and has firepower that rivals a small armada. Because why not? So, exactly what is the Taurus, what can it do, what can it not do, blah 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 blah. Well, let's go over what it can do. That's basically anything and everything you want it to. If you put a bypass build on it, it can literally farm everything in the game with next to no issues. One, that's because it can one-shot basically everything. Two, because it has this little prime shift active thing right here that basically destroys everything underneath their defense, because nothing says power quite like this. Damage-wise, stats-wise, everything like that, well, mine has a fairly typical build that I actually went with. I actually cut out the caliber drivers and just doubled down on the Rife and the cannon, which I cannot remember. It's not important. On the backside, though, we have one of the most important things. As you can see, it's got a trigger. I mean, no. Not even that. I don't even like that. I farmed it because I was hoping to get a skin, and I decided to try it out, and it sucked. No, it has what the Imperator needed. It has spawn slots, and it doesn't just have one. At Mark 5, you get a second one. But I mean, at every single Mark upgrade, you actually get a slot. This is hilarious. You get a shield slot, armor slot, resistance, spawner, weapon. Every single slot. You get something for every upgrade, making it viable. But most importantly is the fact that it's your new dreadnought. It will also, at max, be the heaviest dreadnought, as I've calculated out the whatever percentage increase via the mark upgrades. It says right here of maximum mass 36% increase. It will have over 140,000 tons. So, yeah, that's a pretty hefty big boy. But that also means you have very little room for support fleece and things like that. So we're going to have to decide later on what we're going to be using with it. But for now, let's do a quick run over of the stats. I can break down what it can do, then we'll take it out so I can show you what it can do, rather than just blabber on about it. Right off the bat with my build, it's got 31,000 damage per second, which is doubled because I literally have the spawns as well as the double firing arc, so it's literally more than doubled. Health, it's nothing special, 630,000. I say nothing special like it's just eating a cookie out of a jar, which is just wrong. Shielding, 375,000 points. What does the Imperator have? I forgot. 390,000, and it's a Mark III. I never upgraded it because we still need to make a video about it. Effective range, same as all the other dreadnoughts. Cargo capacity, enough that you'll be content with what it brings back, because it can repair itself, and that's all you need to know. Mass for mine doesn't even matter, because everyone's going to have a different build. Speed, I mean, technically it matters. But, I mean, the biggest thing is the prime shift. And, oh boy, as you can see, it achieves shift faster than everything else does, because everything else has a 2% gain, if I'm not mistaken. It has a 6% flat. That's amazing. Because you combine that, it's a 12% combined, and that's insane. But it also has a very large drain rate, and when it starts to drain after 5 seconds, it'll drop 10% per second. So it'll be in phase for about 2 seconds. Once it starts to drain, then it's out. Still better than everything else. Nothing else back there. Spectre operations. This is where it gets real cool. Just for having a single enemy in the overlapping fire arcs, you gain a 5% defense and a 10 shield defense, which means you go from 90% up to 95, which means you just take less damage overall. Well, less bleed through damage, which is perfect when you're trying to reduce your repairs. Rotation speed increases by 10%, but just by keeping them in your firing arc. A nice bonus. Prime shift active boosts. Oh yeah, I forgot. It gets even more. It is essentially a mixture of Pharmacon and Umbra. It does damage, and it gets to do more damage. It moves faster. It accelerates faster. It's basically it's the baby of the Leviathan and the Necrotizer combined. And it makes it work. I already went over the Prime Shift Active because the Shift Active is just amazing. 25% increase against Altarian, Umbral, and Pharmacon, which I don't really think that it needs it. Because, I mean, it's a Dreadnought first off, so anything below it's just going to get stepped on. Doesn't really matter. Armor health, 300%. A 300% increase at Mark 1. What does my Elite Leviathan have at Elite? It has a 400% increase. And I'm pretty sure it gets another 100%. Yeah, another 100% added, so it gets up to 400%, just like the Leviathan does at Elite. But it starts off with 300%, unlike the Leviathan where it goes 100 and then it goes 60, 60, 60, 60. Damage per second, 100% increase, which is typical with more of... another 100%. Alright, nothing special there. Weapon mass, armor mass, and shield mass up to... Oh, it also has a spawner mass reduction as it is upgraded. Weapon mass up to 45% off, armor mass of 40% off or 35%, I wasn't paying attention, and shield mass of doesn't really matter because it's going to weigh enough you can cram pack it, and if you're doing what I'm doing, just using blueprints, it's not going to matter. Shield recharge at max, it'll be recharging 10% per second. And a 25% weapon speed on top of, what was it? 15%? Okay, so 40%. But the 10% shield recharge rate will be amazing because remember, you get an extra shield and armor slot, and you can still upgrade the armor. You're going to have at least around 500,000, if not more. So you're going to be regenerating 50,000 per second with an elite one. So yeah, that's an amazing feature. Now let's talk about the elite abilities that it has. Spectre operations. Just increased rotation speed. Okay. So, this already beastly ship gets a 300% damage per second increase when it's in Prime Shift. Oh, and it's moving fairly quickly. And that's before you begin to account for any harmonics you use, any fleet commanders you use that have agility increasing bonuses, such as the one I use for the main fleet. I forgot her name. Evie Raisin. Raisin? I'm just going to start calling her Raisin. But you can use her to get an additional 10% as well over the base value. It just keeps on accumulating, and all you have to do is just stuff 3 Titans in there. That isn't too hard. Titans were introduced in Tier 8, and they actually have a lower weight, if I'm not mistaken, over their Tier 9 counterparts. Or maybe I got that backwards. Either way, just find out which one weighs less, and just throw 3 of them in there. You're done, basically, and you have 10% increased movement speed. And finally, let's take a look at what the maxed out one has to offer for the energy weapon. Same 8-second flight time, so not a surprise there, with a 15-second cooldown, and I can confirm, I was doing testing. The cooldown starts the moment it fires, so you have a 7-second delay where you can't fire again, but once you get 2 enemies in the fire arc, or you keep 2 of them in the fire arc, you're good to just keep spamming it every 7 seconds, basically. Well, after the cooldown, once the round has stopped traveling. As for the field, 50% stasis. Nice, that'll allow it to deal plenty of damage, because for every second the enemy's in the field, they're going to be taking... Whoa. Are you kidding? It's doing double what it does in Mark 1. And I mean, we already have seen what the Mark 1 can do. It melts everything under their defense. That's just insane. That's actually amazing. Let's not complain about that at all. So with all of this going for it, what does it not have? It has everything. It's got armor, firepower, amazing usability. It's got spawn slots. It's got great weapon mass reductions, everything like that. And if you're like me and you're only going to be using the blueprint related items, you're never going to max it out. So you will be able to have a full fleet in there with it, or a good majority of a fleet in there with it. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, because I still refuse to farm the RIs because they're a waste of time, because the development team seems to still not understand that I don't want to spend a buttload of my time farming for something that is going to be obsolete. Yeah. But that's going to be it for this video. I've actually enjoyed making this, and I'm looking forward to it. Well, no, not quite. Not the end yet. I do want to take it out and showcase what it does. You know what? Let's go fishing for some more whatever credits I want to say they are. The Junker credits. Yeah. All I have to say is I'm not going to complain about how the ship plays out, because this Dreadnought is amazing and it's just an impressive ship overall. Come on. All I have to say is you will want to pre-aim where you're going to be firing that overpowered projectile, because if not, it's going to fire at whatever the Dreadnought's focusing on, and that can mess you up pretty easily. And as you can see, the tier 9 enemies are healthy enough that you can't really hurt them with it. Well, some of them. Some of them, it just melts. After this, I'll coin it back into the fight and continue to use it. Where do you think you're going? Where do you think you're going? You can't get away. You're not fast enough, even with your jacked up speed boost. You can't get away. Oh, and another thing that I would just like to point out, if anybody just noticed that was a spawn that stopped it from completely moving. If you thought I wasn't going to hit the target that you're supposed to hit to farm it with it, you were mistaken. This is how I do things, and I think that everyone will enjoy this. It does take quite a bit of damage because I just rush everything, but it's mostly irrelevant. Now, these should be a deadly threat to Dreadnought, shouldn't they? They're the Dreadnought hunters. They kind of are. They did so much damage there just because they have increased damage against Dreadnoughts, but the shielding never flinched. 7 seconds pass, fire another one, and oh yes. I forgot, I just need to turn my back on that entire group. Focus on the one at the back and negatively affect them all. Now you see why a bypass build would be so much easier, because I could basically one-shot every single one of those without a single issue. Also, I don't know how to explain that like late firing cycle where the enemy flies into the firing arc and it just doesn't fire. I literally don't know what to say about that at all. Oh, one of my favorite things. Completely wiping out a spawn wave. They're all gone. And yes, I'm actually laughing and having a good time in the game. This sucks because it makes you grind for anything and everything. So to the designer of this specific vessel, for the person that came up with the idea, you did a good job, because I'm actually having a great time with it. But for the rest of the team, whoever came up with other ship designs, of which I'll be talking about very soon, I'm pretty sure you're going to find out who you are. All I have to say is this. Can you buff some other ships? Because some of them just suck and they need a buff. Yeah. In this case, I'm looking at the Commandant, which we'll be taking a look at after the Imperator video whenever I get around to making that. And that video is basically just going to be me making a bunch of suggestions for buffs for it, because why wouldn't I want to buff something that's a Dreadnought that kind of flopped out, that kind of fell flat on its face when it was launched because for some reason it just didn't have what it needed to accomplish something. Yes, I'm taking a lot of damage from this, but I honestly just don't care because I have enough coins to repair after this, plus the 50% off the repairs, so I could probably just log out after this and call it good, because I mean, this is your video. I'm not going to edit this at all, because it's just... Why would I? This is the best showcase. You can see what it can do, and I mean, my Mark V switches, they can do this no problem, because they have that bypass build that I was talking about. But this is literally it. This is the Dreadnought. This is what you get. I wouldn't be able to end the video without a proper goodbye, everybody. Well, a proper see you later. That is, by all intents and purposes, the Taurus. Doing what it does. Oh, only an hour and about 6 minutes repair time. What do I think of the Taurus in short? It's a pretty good ship and I like it, and I think everyone that's farming for it will like it once they get their hands on it. The grind to get to it is tedious and annoying, and I do wish the development team would do something about that, because the game doesn't always have to be about grinding, and for anyone in the development team that says that it does, I cannot state this enough. Not everything's about grinding, because people like to have fun in their free time. That's not unheard of or weird. That's just what they do. When they come to play a game, they do exactly that. Don't be afraid to give your players something fun, like the Torus. Just don't lock it behind a giant grind or something that's going to be annoying for a casual player that's just looking to play in their free time after work or something like that. But that is the Taurus Dreadnought. It excels at farming older tech, so at Mark 1, if you're missing any things like what I'm missing of the Imperator upgrades and stuff like that, it has no problems farming them. But I'm going to go ahead and end it here before it gets too much longer, because we're reaching the 20-minute mark and I'm not going to be editing it that much. But thanks for joining me, everybody. Be safe out in my pack, happy hunting, and as always, I'll see you later.